King, greatest of kings, indulge me in this friendly Christmas game.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Underrated Podcast. This is a podcast where we discuss films that are underrated, underappreciated, and ones that have just slipped under the radar and passed most people by. I am one of your hosts, Derek McDuff, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts Ariel Ortiz.
Hello.
And Alan Torres.
Hey, what's up everybody? How's it going?
And this is our Christmas special. This year, we're going to be talking about my pick, and so for my underrated, kind of under-the-radar Christmas pick, I chose a more recent film. I chose 2021's The Green Knight, written, edited, and directed, and produced by one of my favorite directors, David Lowery, adapted from the 14th century poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, part of the Arthurian cycle and the Matter of Britain. This is one of my favorite ones to kind of just be like, is this a Christmas movie? Spark some good questions in me about what is a Christmas movie, but also it's just one of my favorite movies just in general from the past couple of years. I've really liked this one since it first came out. It's an A24 film, but I
Certified
think
banger already.
There you go. I know Ariel's seen it before, but I know it's Alan's first time, so I want to, before I go into my thoughts on it, I wanted to hear what you guys had to say.
Well, and since it was your first time, why don't you kick it off?
Sure. So yeah, I dug the movie a lot. I mean, I won't lie, A24 I'm kind of a slut for, so I'm like, all right, yeah, I gotta watch it. I dug it. It was cool. Gorgeous movie to watch. Like, it's like a lot of great cinematography, a lot of like wonderful shots, almost every frame a picture kind of thing. It was a little slow, I will say. It is kind of a slow burn of a movie, but there's something about the pacing that isn't too bad. I think it's just everything kind of just was so... I don't know how to explain. Like, it was kind of fast and slow. I don't know.
I would say deliberate. That's the word I would use, is deliberately paced.
Okay, yeah, I guess I agree with that. Yeah, because like it's a very simple story to follow. Like, it's pretty, straightforward. I love those kind of old style, like, epic poems kind of thing. Like, it reminded me a lot of Beowulf, which I love Beowulf, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of made me want to go back and watch the oh my god, what's his name? It's the CGI Beowulf. It came out in the 2000s.
Oh, Zemeckis.
It was Zemeckis, right? All right.
Beowulf. Yeah, it's the Zemeckis Dead Eyes period.
Yeah, I won't lie, I dug it a lot when it came out, but anyways, maybe
written by Neil Gaiman, so
really,
yeah, he did the screenplay. So,
damn, well, he's really great at writing like that style of epic poem or getting from that, like his Norse mythology book. But again, we're getting sidetracked. Green Knight, though, I really like the visuals a lot. There was one moment what made me laugh out loud, and I immediately text Derek. I was like, did I just see some nut in this movie? I was like, no fucking way. I was like, I've only seen nut in like 2 other movies, End of Evangelion and like Itchy the Killer, and so I was like, pleasant surprise. So, I'm glad they
You're kind of like, are they gonna show it? Oh fuck, they just did.
I honestly didn't even think of it. I didn't think they were gonna show it. I was just like, oh, whatever, random sex scene, and then he's holding it, and I was like, now that's Arthurian right there. I was like, oh no. But yeah, that part kind of had me giggling. At like 9 in the morning, I was just like, wow, okay, cool. Yeah, the acting was great. Dave Patel?
Yeah.
Dev Patel.
Dev Patel, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I always get his name confused because like his name sounds like Dave Patel, the comedian. So I don't want to get them confused. But he was great. He was phenomenal. I really liked... I don't know. I what I was worried about going into? I was worried that it was going to try and be too set in realism. Like, I thought they were going to be like, it's an Arthurian legend, but we're not going to really give a shit. And it was great seeing, like, the giants and, like, the talking fox. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm very easy with that shit. So when you start showing me, like, mids and creatures. I'm like, oh, okay, this is really cool. But yeah, and then I guess, I guess we'll save the Christmas question till after Ariel, because I feel like that's going to be the big theme of this episode. So, yeah, I dug it, and I want to hear what you got to say, Ariel.
No, I enjoy it for the most part. I think it's an okay movie overall. I do enjoy, and I love the cinematography and how beautiful that is. Just the character design of the Green Knight is really awesome, and all these different characters. The moral of it is very interesting, and I enjoy it a lot because of how it is a man on a lesson, and essentially he does falter multiple different times, and it's only at the end where he finally seemingly chooses the right thing to do. It's very much a movie to be interpreted multiple ways,
Mhm.
and to leave you guessing, and what is to happen, and kind of choose your own adventure. I know that Lowery himself left it that way, and that he had changed his ending from originally being essentially a certain ending to this more open-ended question of an ending, which is, as I was like reading through the poem itself, it's very different of the poem itself, and how the poem is more of a clear cut, but a good ending, you could say, where Gawain does reveal that or he does allow the blow to happen, but the Green Knight had always seen it as a game, and Gawain had revealed, like, oh, I was wearing the sash, and he's like, it's fine. The Green Knight is actually like, it's fine. So it's very much like when I was watching videos as well of like the difference in the original interpretation of, or the original telling of the story, and then Lowery's telling of the story, and how they are very much opposites of, like, the original poem is very much of like, you don't have to be perfect kind of like story. Like, you can falter, but as long as you continue on striving to the virtues of Arthurian court, essentially, you could you'll be fine, you'll be worthy of being a knight. Whereas this one is a lot more, no, you should require these 5 virtues and live by them very much as strictly as you can, and then that in being will make you a knight. And so, yeah, like his whole journey, essentially, of him failing these 5 Arthurian virtues, and it isn't until the end where he kind of like in my interpretation is that he starts on his path to finally accomplishing those virtues. I try to think of it as a more like hopeful kind of ending, in the way of like it being that the Green Knight, as somehow, like, is the poem itself lets him off as like, you learned your lesson, and that ties back into like, that probably is how it's gonna go, because the whole thing of his mother, who is Morgana, famously of our 30 legend,
Morgan
is,
Le Fay.
Morgan
yeah,
Le Fay,
Morgan Le Fay, that she set this as a test for him to learn a lesson, and that's my interpretation. Is, I know that there's multiple different interpretations of which direction she wanted it, because if see her actions, if we think of it as all these different things, these people that he interacts with as being her, but in disguise, or like her placing all these tasks or things to test his 5 virtues, then are you trying to persuade your son to get killed or not? So it's like, I don't think she is, in my interpretation of the story, and that,
What,
yeah.
what are the 5 virtues?
yeah, because there's
It's
none of that specifically in the film. It's like
Mhm.
subtext, not text.
it's actually depicted in the 5 stars that they constantly show. That's actually in the Arthurian like that is a representation of the Arthurian legend.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm
stuff
saying.
like that.
It's subtext. Yeah.
Oh yeah, subtext, yeah. But I'm saying like it is present in the film itself. Like visually present in the film itself. It's like chivalry, piety, what's the like the one that
Integrity.
in not really integrity, but like chivalrousness. So like the first one is friendship is another one. Charity. So the first one is essentially like he fails is the kid in the battlefield and stuff like that, and he could have given him a lot more money.
Oh, the Joker. Yeah.
Yeah, the Joker. Yeah. Or
I think you mean
the
from
Eternal.
the Eternals.
Yeah.
By the way, that he's
but-
so perfectly cast in this is just like a grubby little guy, and he's also in
Yeah.
Alan. He's in Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot. I need to finish it. We got into yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we're going off track.
But yeah, so that's the first not challenge, task or thing that he kind of fails at is because he could have provided charity. He didn't even ask like how the kid was doing, like, you know, with both of his brothers being killed in this battle that essentially like his uncle possibly, you know, caused and killed all these Saxons essentially.
Because they do make the reference of like the king that killed 900 and whatever, which is an Arthurian legend.
Yeah. And so he doesn't offer any kind of like anything like, you know, like that, and only offers him a coin, and he only offers it because he's told. Yeah, because he's told where he points out where the Green Chapel is. So that's like the first one that he fails. And then he fails with Winifred, the ghost in the cabin of. He's not chivalrous in that instance where he should as a knight go and just fetch her head instead of like, well, what do I get in return for it? So he should have just
that part that made me laugh was when she's like, why would you ask me that? And he's like, oh yeah. Like, just,
yeah,
like,
so it's kind of like a reminder. Yeah. And then he fails at friendship with Joel Egerton's character of essentially like he didn't keep that promise of like you should give to me what you've received in my house, which is the green sash. Like he should have given him as the green sash. And also like don't like get jerked off by my wife as well, but
specifically and he gave that back. So
yeah, but it's specifically like the green sash. You should have given the green sash back to him. So that's like the fail of friendship. And then I think there was another one I can't think of. What else did he? Well, then also like the giants of like kind of like, yeah, like he's acting lazy instead of asking to, you know, can I get a ride with you giants on your shoulders and stuff like that. So yeah, like it's essentially like he fails on these tasks that are put in front of him, like or things to show that he's being, you know, having the virtues of a Arthurian knight. So yeah, and then it isn't until the very end with the Green Knight, and it's not until after he sees like essentially like a vision of his future that he's like, oh, like I need to like be, you know, chivalrous and stuff like that and not be a coward anymore. And so yeah,
so too hubris, like right in the beginning, the Green Knight was like, yeah, whatever you do to me, I'm gonna do it back to you. And this fucker decides to go way ham and cut his head off, and I was like, why? I immediately thought, like I thought they had a fight. Like I thought they were gonna be like doing a fucking epic battle, and like they're gonna have another epic battle next Christmas. And it was going to be like, I need to land the same blow. But nothing happened. There was no fight. And he cuts his head off. I was like, dude, you should have just like nicked him on the cheek or on the arm. Like just a little. And then next year, just go by and then be like, all right, here, cut my hand or whatever. Nick my cheek. Mm-hmm. This guy, no, fucking Sir Gawain just fucking goes full hand, cuts the head off. And I was like, why? Like, you didn't have to do that. I was like, he's like a fucking swamp thing running around. I was like, why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then you could see like, the disappointment on Arthur. but then the question is left up to Arthur as well. Like, and I think that's why he's also disappointed as well. Is that Arthur's like, it's just a game, just have fun. Don't cut off this man's head. Like it is. Yes, it is a game, but even in a game, you should show
Passion.
honor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm,
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, yeah, that's all that stuff. I mean, I definitely didn't read up on any of the like that all your stuff you're saying about the five riches and stuff. Like, I'm sure that is clearly like in the subtext of it, like we were saying. But it's something like like I didn't even pick up on that. I don't. A lot of people won't, and I think that one thing that this movie is kind of really overall saying is that basically it's more important to, as Alicia Vikander's character says, it's more important to be a good man than a great one, and he is kind of through this movie striving to be this noble knight and this great hero and to get honor. And then, kind of to your point, Ariel, when these things happen that a knight probably should do come up, he kind of misses the boat because he's so caught up with the ideal of knight being a knight and the ideal of chivalry and all that stuff that he completely misses the boat on actually living up to those ideals and being a good person because he's so caught up with trying to be a great person. And it's also what you were talking about, Alan, is he could just go out and like this guy shows up and he's like, oh yeah, like you said, he could just cut him on the hand or just give him a cut on the cheek or something simple, anything. But he's like, oh, I need to be this great warrior, and he's like, all right, and he's like, I need to live up to the expectations of my uncle, who is the greatest warrior who's ever lived. My uncle's fucking King Arthur. And I think King Arthur is really interesting in this because he is this embodiment of these ideals, these chivalric ideals, but he's also kind of sickly and fading and showing kind of that these ideals, while they're good at their core, like he was like a good king, maybe there is something just wrong about just sticking to the letter of it and trying to attain this greatness for greatness sake. And he should just go and like live with Alicia Vikander, and I really love all of that. That's something about the movie that really spoke to me. And it spoke to me even more on this rewatch. Like, as soon as that she said that thing, I like wrote it down in my notes. But I also just love movies that this is like, I think I've mentioned on this podcast before about how this movie really is the perfect straddling of the line between kind of like metaphorical storytelling and neorealism, but not going too far into that where you're just like, what does any of this fucking mean? Like, a lot of it is open to interpretation, but it's not completely out there where you're like, what did I just watch? This feels like surreal nonsense. It is still grounded, but it is weird enough. And I think a big part of that comes from because it was in the original cut, because this movie was supposed to originally release at South by Southwest on March 16th of 2020. Obviously, that didn't happen, and then it was supposed to get a wide release in May. So David Lowery essentially had 6 months, and he's like, I didn't really like this original cut, and he kind of reworked it to not just the ending, but the whole film to kind of make it more of his vision, make it more of this kind of like, that give it that weird A24 feeling that I really love, because this is a movie where it is just kind of like the vibes and the cinematography and all the effects and the way that it combines the kind of old practical effects with the new stuff. Like, there's all these digital matte paintings, which is a very old way of doing a movie with using very new tools. Like, when they go through that gate to Joel Edgerton's castle, that's a digital matte painting. When the Green Knight's head gets cut off, they drop a practical head and like they do like a green screen head. So I watched a little, because I just got the DVD, the Blu-ray, and I was watching some of the bonus features, and it is really cool the way they make this all look. But yeah, I think all of that really does a good job. I think Lowery is one of my absolute favorite directors, and sometimes he can be a little too metaphorical with like Ghost Story is one that I watched from him that was kind of like, what even is any of this? Like, I still liked it, I think, but it dipped a little too far into that. But it still does maintain that kind of ethereal weirdness that feels very appropriate for something based on this kind of legend. And just another thing I wanted to touch on too, real fast, while I'm rambling here, is Alan. You brought up how great a lot of the performances in this were, and this is I in the past I hadn't really been a big fan of Dev Patel. I didn't think he was very good in Slumdog. He showed up a couple other things and I thought he was fine, but this is where I think he really comes into his own. Like, he is incredible here, and then also like everyone's really good in it. You have a lot of A24 regulars in it. Yeah, Ralph Ineson, who has the greatest voice ever. Like, he's so good. He's just like he's like, "Will there be a cut on the cheek?" Like, I can't even do it. He's got this amazing deep voice. But the one that really stood out for me is Joel Edgerton. Just like, he is having the time of his life in this movie. Like, he's just like, "Oh yes, tell me, Gawain. Like, what is this?" Like, he is just having absolutely so much fun in this movie. But all of that to say, I think that this movie and the themes of just kind of him being good and growing a lot as a character are something that is definitely present in a lot of Christmas movies. A lot of Christmas movies, you see a character that has maybe a big fatal flaw, and a lot of Christmas movies are all about character growth. And this movie is really a film that is so much about character growth. We can get into the nitty-gritty of what makes a Christmas film, but I think from a thematic standpoint, just starting there, it really is. So what did you guys think about whether or not this is a Christmas film?
Thinking that, like, going back to like what I was saying about Christmas stories and films and something like that, where it's like a lesson is learned, very much it does tie back to like those virtues of like being kind, being generous, being, chivalrous and honorable as well. We just talked about a version of Christmas Carol on my podcast of You've Never Seen, and just like that element of like, being charitable, being kind, being a person that does good. And like a Christmas Story says, like, I will live as if it's Christmas every day.
Christmas Carol, not Christmas Story.
Yeah, I did that as well, like on my podcast. But I said, yeah, I meant A Christmas Carol. I
Both are
switched
great.
it. Yeah, I just messed up once. Okay, but this time at least. But yeah, like it's just essentially that whole feeling of being a good person. That's what comes down to like what a lot of Christmas movies are about, of like a person that's in whatever way and for whatever reason is like not the greatest, is an unlikable person, and then along the way goes on a self-reflecting journey to see that, oh, I'm not a good person, I need to change. So yeah, very much so, like, clearly, like this movie is a Christmas movie because of that, not just because it literally takes place between two Christmases. I mean, they don't even pay attention to the rest of the year. It literally just takes place between two Christmas times. Yeah. They skip over everything else, and it's just two Christmas times. But yeah, I mean, the whole fact of like the Green Knight being a tree as well. You could stretch that to be like, Christmas tree, green Christmas tree and stuff like that. But
can I give you a little bit of trivia real fast about the about the Green Knight, and how maybe he even ties a little more into Christmas? Is that the direction that David Lowery gave him when he comes back, when he's kind of at the end and he's a little more, let's say, jolly? He tells Ralph Ineson, play him like Santa Claus, and Ralph Ineson was like, I know exactly what you mean. So there we go.
Yeah, and you get that very much feeling of like, like of the Green Knight representing this like ghost or being that is like, it doesn't want you to fail. And I really think that, and that's why I do the interpretation that I do at the end of this movie, and how I interpret the ending, is because he very much feels like he doesn't want Sir Gawain to fail, and he wants just even like being like kind of playful with him in a way when he's like backing away and being scared of the blow, and he's just like, I didn't back away when you gave your blow and stuff like that. It's very much in a playful way. So yeah, I definitely see that. coming through with his performance. And yeah, it even to that, like the character of the Green Knight being that kind of like very much at the end kind of approachable, whereas I guess you can say the first time that they meet he is somewhat unapproachable, but in their re-meeting it's like in a very approachable sense, as being kind of like he truly doesn't have anything to fear. And that's why I interpret it as like, I think he let him go, like he's like, you proven your worth, like you proven your honor by taking off the sash. And he says like, you there, like that is my good knight, I think he says, or he essentially calls him a knight, and so therefore he's like, now you're honorable to be a knight, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite part of him being Santa Claus is when he goes, off with your head, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas.
He does have a great like jolly laugh when he rides
Well,
away.
yeah. That's the thing too, is like he says that line so jolly that it's like, it seems like, get out of here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was really hoping he'd let him go, because I was like, all right, he learned his lesson. He had the whole fucking Twilight flashback from the end of Breaking Dawn or whatever. I was like, okay, let him go.
So much better here.
Fucking yeah, I was like, all right, I hope he was cool with it. He did give his like, I think he gave him two directions. I think he was like, at the end be Santa Claus, but at the beginning be the Headless Horseman. I want to see your best Headless Horseman interpretation, because damn, that scene was pretty sick of him just holding his head. And I was like, whoa, where's Ichabod? I didn't know he was Arthurian. Holy shit.
Well, kind of ironically, like, yeah, like, going, that is kind of like what Sir Gawain follows, is an Ichabod kind of character of being a little cowardly or scared easily.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So Alan, where do you land then? What's your answer here?
I want to say, like, because it's, I like when they do like a unique kind of twist on it. I mean, obviously, I don't think that was the main like draw of like, I don't think A24 and the director were like, yes, this is a Christmas movie, come watch, or whatever, like, I think it's just a cool interpretation of having a Christmas story in like an Arthurian legend. I think it's a cool little mishmash, because I feel like they were trying to give off of like Christmas is like this big event, and they're all celebrating and they're all having a great time, and putting a little twist on it with the game and the Green Knight. I mean, all the points you guys brought up are pretty much what I was going to say. Like, they're very valid. Like, yeah, a Christmas story is typically someone learns their lesson, and it's the spirit of Christmas. Well, there you go. Like how I hope it ended was, yeah, he got away okay and everything. And then they have the post credits, where I didn't even know there was a post credits. I was like, oh shit, I had to go back and look it up. And the little girl, was that supposed to be like his future kid? And
it's open to interpretation, but maybe it's like one of the possible futures. If he does survive, then it's like this could be his kid,
Cool. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, wow, okay. I thought it was like the last movie to have a post credits, but when it said the Green Knight will return in the Avengers, I was like, all right, I guess,
No, yeah, I think, one point that gets brought up a lot in like these debates on, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Is X a Christmas movie? Is can it be set at a time other than Christmas? And that's something I kind of agree with, because, yeah, I don't think you really couldn't set this at any time other than Christmas, because it's all about the festivities. There's like even gift giving in this. But it is all about like, we're here. It's the Christmas game, And then he's got to go off, and Joel Edgerton's like leaving because New Year's just around the corner. And I think that what's really important about this movie being at Christmas is, one thing about this movie that I love is it's kind of this really and it's because of the time period that it's set, and because the Green Knight himself is just kind of like nature embodied, and it is this kind of crossroads between the modern world and just kind of the old natural world. And I think that Christmas in a lot of ways kind of does that, where so many traditions and things nowadays are so modern, and Christmas like as our modern tradition is that because a lot of the traditions that we see in Christmas that we don't see in this movie are from like the like Victorian age, like the 19th century onward. Like you're not going to see Christmas lights and Rudolph in this movie because those obviously modern inventions, but you do see kind of like the older Christmas. Like this movie starts out with them saying Christ is born, because that's the whole thing about Christmas. And I love that it does exist at this intersection of the kind of like old beliefs, the old ways, this old Green Knight who kind of represents nature, and then the new Arthurian ways, and it is this middle lane. Like I was talking before about how like it's perfectly equally balanced between metaphorical and just kind of more like straight down the line. I think that it balances the kind of nature and modern world, and then kind of Christianity and paganism in a really interesting way, because even even Christmas today has all these really interesting ties back to older traditions, the way people used to live their lives before. The Christmas tree is very kind of like a lot of people think it has all these pagan things. Christmas itself happens on December 25th because it is the winter solstice. People who, when they were first kind of starting to celebrate Christmas, they're like, people are already celebrating on this day. Let's just kind of make our holiday this, and we'll kind of combine a lot of our new traditions with these older traditions. And I just absolutely love that synthesis. So if you set this at any other time, you lose that thematic thread, and that is a thread that is so prevalent and interesting in this movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. What do you think, Ariel?
No, I could see it going that way as well. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't agree with that whole rule of like, oh, if it could take place at any other time, then it's not considered a Christmas movie. I don't agree with that kind of thing. I just think like if it has that feel.
Is Lethal Weapon a Christmas movie? Because that's an interesting one. Because
I haven't actually seen Lethal Weapon in a long time, but like for Die Hard, like I was skeptical too before I watched it for the first time. But I watched it, I'm like, fuck, this is a Christmas movie, I was like,
Die Hard, it does kind of have to be set at Christmas because he's going home for the holidays, and it's a Christmas party. His kids are there. Like I think that. I'm not saying that's like a hard and fast rule. I'm more into like kind of like it has to have Christmas vibes and kind of a Christmas aesthetic. And this one I feel like does that too. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ariel.
Oh no, yeah. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like I if the vibes work, then it's a Christmas movie, So that's my rule, I think. And that's just how it works, in my opinion. Mm-hmm.
Like because I wrote this piece like a year or two ago now about how I think Catch Me If You Can is like a sleeper Christmas classic, and nobody really considers it a Christmas movie, but it does have all that Christmas stuff in it that people just don't really think about. And one of the things I said is I think Christmas movies are a lot like Westerns. Like it's not like there are themes, there are kind of plots that you see in a lot of them, but they can be all these other genres. They can be set in different time periods. You can have like a space western, or like a western set in the modern day, or a very traditional western, or an anti-western. And it's the same with Christmas movies. You can have like a Christmas musical, or you can have like a Christmas movie like this, or you can have like an animated Christmas movie. You can do all of these different things, and it's all about the kind of vibes and aesthetic. And it's kind of like a western when you see it. You also, to me, know a Christmas movie when you see it. I mean, Black Christmas is a fucking Christmas movie. It's in the title, and that's a slasher. That's like one of the original slashers, So,
yeah.
But I think it is a really cool thing. Christmas is just kind of another, just like it's honestly its own genre. And there's this really great book that I haven't got a chance to read yet, but I've read this first book. John Truby, who wrote Anatomy of Story, just came out with a book called Anatomy of the Genre, and I was listening to. He was just on Beyond the Screenplay, talking about this kind of genres and how the genre you use is like you have to it's not like you have to tell the story, but like certain genres lend themselves so well to certain types of stories and certain morals. And just like any other genre, Christmas does that with the kind of, you see it probably first with, A Christmas Carol about Scrooge kind of learning and stuff like that. But, so many Christmas movies do that. And one other thing I forgot to mention, a lot of Christmas movies are kind of about family and family strife. That's a big thing with Christmas is going home for the holidays, and then you get there and John McClane's wife wants to divorce him, or Kevin's parents leave him home for like home alone for the holidays, or whatever. And this one is like about his mom kind of sets him on this trial. You can look at it certain ways. Was she more malicious? Was she just trying to test him? And David Lowery did say that like that character, the Morgan Le Fay character, was kind of inspired by his own mother.
Yeah, yeah, and I and one of the like analysis that I was watching even explained like her contradictory kind of things that she does. Like if it is to be interpreted that she possessed like the spirit of like the fox or even the woman with the bandages over her eyes, because similar to how she had the bandages over her eyes or the blindfold over her eyes while she was casting the spell as like ways to see him. But like specifically with the fox, like it being contradictory to her sending him on this journey, as well as like her being the fox, which you could kind of hear her voice as well at towards the tail end of that scene of saying like don't continue on, just like come back, kind of thing. So it's like kind of contradictory of like, well, you sent him on this journey, but then you're telling him to come back. It's kind of like still reminiscence of a mother as well, because she, like, yes, she wants him to finally learn, like, push him off the deep end, but maybe like to use the same metaphor, like, push him off the deep end, but he's like been, kind of like wading water for kind of a somewhat too long way, like a worrisome time. And so maybe now she's like, oh, wait, like, let me try to save you and stuff like that. So even that is kind of like reminiscent of a mother's, I want to teach you a lesson, but I don't want you to get hurt, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I agree, because I fucking hate that shit that my mom does.
Yeah.
That as soon as you were explaining it, I was like, yeah, moms do be doing some bullshit like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because like it could be interpreted like, is the Green Knight, is it like something that she like created and is possessing, or is he actually just like she summoned him, kind of thing. Like, yes, the Green Knight is somebody that he knew, and then there's that scene where it's right before the day that he awakens, like you kind of get a filtering of different faces on his face, like from Joel Egerton's character, King Arthur. Even his mother is like one of the faces that filter over the Green Knight's face while he's like, at night, while he's like still asleep. And so like, yeah, like the Green Knight could represent like, these are all the people that that are like essentially waiting for you to finally be chivalrous, to finally have that honor that they see, like, it's kind of like they see the potential in you, but you're essentially wasting it away, kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, any final thoughts on the Green Knight, or just kind of more kind of alternative Christmas movies, I guess as they're called? Because I do love. I've talked before about how much those are my favorite Christmas movies, are the more alternative ones. So it's no surprise that I love this. But what did you get? Any thoughts on that, guys? Before we wrap up.
I think I enjoyed it a lot more because like I kind of said at the top, I kind of like I didn't enjoy it as much the first time that I watched it, maybe because of the length of it, and I did watch it in theaters like fairly late, so I was possibly like kind of too tired and drowsy from it. And then truthfully, the nutting part kind of like, it was like very like, what? The first time around. Now this time around, okay, like I'm getting past that. All right, like let's see what the metaphor is, because okay, this is a metaphor. Like,
it's a dirty, shameful thing that he carries with him, and once he casts it aside, he thinks it'll protect him, but it's actually shameful, and that's when he becomes great. I just love that.
Well, like the sash, like even the one his mother gave him was still had that shame connected to it because of like it being like a protection.
Yeah,
like he
and then just the way they like are like, just in case it wasn't clear, we're gonna make it even more dirty and shameful.
Yeah. but yeah, so like with this time around, and I think listening to interpretations of it and trying to like take the hopeful path of the ending as well, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more this time around and with this viewing than I did last time, and just kind of like staying like getting that knowledge of, okay, like these are the virtues, and or just overall like just to be trying to be chivalrous and trying to be noble and honorable. That's the key kind of thing to take away from it, at least for me, and that's what made it a bit more enjoyable for me. But yeah, like I think I do enjoy like alternative kind of like Christmas movies, because it does lend for a new space to discover, and I really do. I like how you were saying earlier about how Christmas it can allow all these subgenres to come out of it, and it's really a cool thing to do, to like see all these subgenres coming out of Christmas and see what else comes out, but not in a gimmicky kind of way. Like, because right now it's just like, oh, like sci-fi Christmas, but I'm like, I don't want it to be like Santa Claus fights
First
the
the
Martians. Yeah, saves Christmas from the Martians or something like that. But yeah, if it takes itself seriously, and it does like A24 kind of style kind of thing.
Yeah,
Or status.
I mean, anything can be done well, like
Mhm.
as long as that's one thing too that Truby talked about a lot on that episode of Beyond the Screenplay is when you're combining genres, you really have to understand the thematics of both of them and combine them in a way where you are using the strengths of each genre, and you're not just like, I'm just gonna throw these two things like Christmas and sci-fi together because I think they'll be cool. Really, like David Lowery's just such a smart guy. Like he's like, I'm gonna use all the kind of tropes of Christmas movies. I mean, I'm not necessarily, but like he does, and like all the tropes of fantasy in this kind of really interesting combination. So utilizing both of them in a smart way and not just throwing them, mashing them together because you think that they will be a cool combination of genres is so important.
Yeah, I think it was pretty awesome. Like he clearly saw like possibly like, oh, like what it means to be a knight, and the the traits of a knight, an Arthurian knight, are very similar to like what Christmas movies like ask a person to be, kind of thing. So I think he latched onto that and like, oh, I could very easily meld these two, tropes together just based on the morality of both being essentially the same.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and like that Christmas was clearly on his mind because the movie's set at Christmas, and then he just like did the Santa Claus thing, like the fact that he specifically told him to play it like Santa Claus. It's like, yeah, he was definitely thinking about like this having Christmas like themes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I wish was in it was my man Etrigan the Demon, because he's an Arthurian character, but we can't have it. We can't have everything, unfortunately. But yeah, gone the former man rides the demon Etrigan, man. But yeah, no, I do like the alternative Christmas stories, like you're saying. I think I prefer that much more, like this, and then obviously my favorite, Batman Returns. So I kind of like when it's like an add-on.
That episode, guys.
Go check that out.
It was last year's episode, yeah.
That's another great combination of genres, which is Christmas and superhero genre. Really well done by the interpreter, and spooky too. But yeah, no, like I was saying, yeah, I definitely think that this is a really great combination of these genres. I think that I will always love a great alternative Christmas movie, especially one that is done as well as this. And just one other Christmas thing that I forgot to say earlier that's in this, that I don't know if it's intentional, but knowing Lowery maybe is there's a jingle bell in this.
That's true.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. I remember looking at it and I was like, huh? And then it went right over my head.
Is her bells like a showing of shame, or is it like, is that just like she just like has a scarf with bells on it?
Well, because she gives him the bell as kind of like a token, and then
Yeah, but because it's from her scarf.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, is like her scarf like a like something that she has to wear to show that she's a working woman kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe, and that's why he's ashamed of it when like somebody asks, she like the other version of her, like the same, like she's the lady when but she still play. She's like, oh, is this a token of love? And he just is kind of embarrassed, and then that she loses it, and that's another failing of one of those virtues is him just kind of like lying about this love that he should have had. So I thought that was another cool moment and element, but yeah, all tying into the kind of Christmas theme. But I also just want to ask the listeners, and I was going to go ahead and I'll put it in the, if you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and answer. I'll put the question in, is The Green Knight a Christmas movie? Let us know, vote yes or no on if this is a Christmas movie. Sorry to anybody who's listening on like, Apple or
we should also post that on our Instagram.
Yeah,
on the day of this release.
Yeah, let us know on Instagram how if you're not on Spotify, Undercast Company on all the socials. Hit us up and let us know, or let us also know what your favorite alternative Christmas movie is, because we would love to hear it. So definitely check out all those social medias. Like I said, Undercast Company everywhere. We also have a Discord if you want to let us know there. So that's always fun. You can just go. That's going to be in the description too. And then of course, I also want to mention that we also have a Patreon, and we just made a new tier. And if you sign up at the new level that we've just established, where you can become a producer of the show, and then if you're on that level for 6 months, you can actually choose an episode. So this is the first time we're doing this. You can let the fan, if you are a producer for 6 months, you choose an underrated film for us to talk about. And then I just want to kind of end with saying that this is our 99th episode of this podcast. We've obviously done some other podcasts. Ariel, as she mentioned, has her show You've Never Seen, and I am wrapping up season 2 of Gateway episodes, and I do another podcast with my friend Damien, Can I Say Something? So we have like a whole family of kind of podcasts, but for here, our flagship podcast, we are about to hit episode 100, our next episode, which comes out the day after Christmas. We're going to be doing our 100th episode on Stardust. On that same day, we're going to have a watch along in our Discord. So come and join us and watch the movie with us virtually. I think it'll be a lot of fun. That is kind of the movie that started us off on this whole underrated journey. It was kind of a spark for us. So we would love to spend some time with you guys out there and watch that. If you can make it, that would be so cool. But thank you guys all for coming along 99 episodes so far with us, because it's honestly been a blast. And Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice, Happy whatever you celebrate. If you celebrate anything at this time of year, we want to wish you Happy Holidays.
Bye, Merry Christmas. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everybody. And I think the last thing I wanted to say was maybe the nut, because it's white, represented milk, like milk and cookies, Santa Claus. Maybe that's the real Christmas thing right there. But yeah, Happy Holidays.